I didn't meet the real people the first year that I lived there. I met all the hustlers and thieves.
Lee Vanderwalker moved to Belize more than 20 years ago.
I felt like I was coming home. Like, where have you been all my life? You strange, crazy people.
She ran the first art gallery on Caye Caulker and expanded it into a cafe.
Within a matter of hours, I had to come up with $18,000 US to get this emergency surgery.
For Americans who are considering a move to Belize, this is what they should really know. Lee, it's so great to have you here. You moved to Belize and to Caye Caulker in 2001, long before Belize became this trending phenomenon. And 2 years ago, you retired. How do you feel your days now?
They're super full. You know, I take a lot of time in the morning. I'm off coffee now, so I'm drinking my mushroom chai tea latte with almond milk. And I listen to music. I listen to podcasts like NPR and things like that. And then I'm working in my studio every day, every single day. So my neighbors they might hear me, but they don't see me until the afternoon when I'm ready to take a little break from working. I still work every day. Yeah. I'm just not running a retail shop anymore.
Right.
The 10 years prior to moving to Belize, I'd had a graphic design firm in Troy, Michigan, and it was like a graphic design for corporate publishing. So my clients were Wayne State University, Blue Cross Blue Shield, GM. In 1997, when my youngest daughter went into high school, that was in the prior century, it just hit home that, I don't have to keep doing this because pretty soon I'm going to be an empty nester. And so the next 3 years, from 97 to 2000, I was looking at different Caribbean destinations because I had gone to the Bahamas for my senior break trip and fell in love. And so I looked into all different destinations. I looked at the Bahamas and I didn't have that much money.
It's expensive. Yeah.
It is. For a long time, I thought I was moving to St. Croix, but then they went through several in a row devastating hurricanes, which decimated their tourism. So I knew that I wanted to be involved in doing my art full time. And in order to sell that, you need my style of art, you need tourism. I happened to fly into Cancun on a $99 ticket. And I was with a friend who's a fashion designer from Trinidad. And we were just like, what the heck? Let's take the bus to Belize. So we did. We did. We jumped on the bus, got to Chetumal. We spent the night there. Then the morning we checked out, what chicken buses were going to Belize. And she was down for it because she's from Trinidad and Tobago. And when we crossed the border into Belize, I didn't get it. I did not get it at all. I did not get the Caribbean side of it. Belize is slowly becoming more and more Spanish, but, in 2000, it was like going to Jamaica, and I was not expecting that.
But it was much more Caribbean at the time. Yeah, I feel like it was too, and I only got there in 2010.
Yeah. I didn't get it, but I just looked around and she explained, she's like, oh my gosh, this place is just like Trini. And she explained their customs and some of the food. And I grew an appreciation that week. Our initial destination was going to be Placencia, but the Kendall Bridge was underwater. So there were no buses going to Placencia. So we ended up taking the old water taxi, the little skiffs out to Caye Caulker. And we landed on Caye Caulker like New Year's Eve. And it was history from there. When I stepped off that pier, I felt like I was coming home. Like, where have you been all my life? You strange, crazy people,
Yeah.
Who
knew you were my community?
I know, who were calling me lady with the pretty hair, So, because my hair was like, it was a different color. This is my natural color. It was like, reddish purple. And then when I went back, like a couple months later, they remembered me and I started making friends and started making contacts. And when I first moved to Belize, I did not move to Caye Caulker. I moved to San Pedro for my career in being a full-time artist and not telling anybody that I was a graphic designer because I didn't want any deadlines anymore. No crazy scheduling. No, I'm not going to be working for advertising agencies and ruining my life. I just decided to, go slow. So after being in San Pedro for 6 months, the ladies that I had made contact with initially, all of them left for one reason or another. One of them got sick. Another one, her son was ready for high school, so she left. And another one just got tired of Belize. And I was looking around at, who were my friends. And, I'm from Detroit. So it was the over 50 crowd from Texas, which is not my crowd. Prior to moving to Belize, I had been doing a lot of work for a Microsoft developer, and we weren't meeting in person anyway. So I decided to come to Caye Caulker and offer very, very inexpensive web pages. So I did them for like $100. And a lot of times I just took it in trade. Okay, I'll take $100 in food from your restaurant, or, you can pay me $20 a time. And that's how I got to know. I just walked around with my camera talking to people. That's how I met Wendy Oxaloo, who's an attorney here now. She was a mom and she was running her little rental, and I went in and photographed her newly renovated house for rental. And then after, doing this for a couple months, going back and forth, I just thought, you know what? These are my people. These really are. And I was doing well selling at Belizean Arts in San Pedro, but I didn't necessarily need to live in San Pedro. So I moved to Caye
So,
Caulker,
yeah.
and I
So,
significantly lowered my cost of living.
at which point did you decide to actually settle there?
In 2000, I was back and forth 7 times. And each time I
Okay.
came, I thought I was there to stay. I would end up having to go back for one reason or another, mostly business.
Mm.
And
Mm.
then I came down full time. I think it was in March of 2001, and I was able to stay. I only had to go
Okay.
back one time during that period for a short time. And that was when my property sold and I had to close on my house because I immediately went into the residency program.
In Belize.
Yes, in Belize. You have to live in Belize for 12 months consecutive without leaving for more than 14 days within that 12 months. So I just told
Okay.
everybody, I can't come back for 2.5 years.
Yeah, tough life. What could you survive on back in the day in terms of budget, in terms of realistic cost of living month to
Okay.
month compared to now?
I rented like a little efficiency house on the upstairs of a family, and it was, a room with it's a private bath, and my rent was 250 US a month, and that included electricity and water
Wow.
because we were on well water back then. And
Yeah.
then my shop was on the first floor. My first little art gallery was on the first floor, and then that was 500 Belize or 250 US. And then when another little space became available in this house, Pepe's house, I leased it, and I moved my little studio out of my bedroom, and I actually had a proper studio where I could lay things out and work in a larger scale. So
Okay.
my total rent for my little efficiency apartment, my studio, and my little gallery, which was the size of a small hotel room, was 750 US, all included.
What does that like a one bedroom go for these days? Probably
A one
800,
bedroom
900.
local rental, which means you have a work permit, residency, or your Belizean, you can get for about 500
Oh,
plus your utilities. It's not going to be very glamorous. If you don't have that status and you're coming to spend time here as a tourist a couple months, you're going to start 800, 900, 1,000 US and
yeah.
on up. If you want air conditioning, it's even more because our cost of electricity is really high. However, we have more reliable electricity here on Caye Caulker because we have our own electric station. And the only time our electricity really goes off is when it runs out of gas. I think sometimes that's what happens.
Yeah, yeah. So funny. How's the food situation now? The super.
Between specialty stores in San Pedro and a couple little supermarkets, you can still get reasonably priced produce, imported things. Miss Dawn, who lives down the street from me, she does a daily special. I order from her, and her portions are so big that it usually is like 2 meals or 2 days worth for
Yeah.
me. So
That's one
my
of the
typical
things that I liked about Caye Caulker and other areas of Belize too, where you actually WhatsApp people and
Yes,
they're not actual restaurants with brick and mortar,
right.
but they exist and they cook at home or whatever, and it's
Yes.
so good, healthy, and it's
Yes.
like, oh,
Yes.
you order for
All
tomorrow,
that
WhatsApp,
love.
like it's just
Yes.
like insane.
All that love she puts in her food. Yeah.
Yeah. When you think back to those early years in Belize, what is the one thing that really stands out to you, somebody who moved there as a foreigner?
How genuine the local people were. I realized that I didn't meet the real people the first year that I lived there. I met all the hustlers and thieves. I met the real people about a year after because they were just sitting back watching me to see if I would stick and to see who I was and what I was made of, and They just sat and watched. And I did the same thing when I went to village council meetings. I sat in the back and I listened. I listened and I did not contribute. I didn't complain. I didn't contribute. I just listened, see what the dynamics were. And then the school children would start stopping by my shop on their way home for lunch. A little boy who has ended up working for village council now. His name is Ramir. He's a big boy now, 25 years later. He used to stop by on his way home from school and ask me what my dreams were the night before. Or kids would come by and they'd get a free glass of, a water on their way home. Or they would bring their Bristol board and say, Miss, would you help me draw this? We have a project. And so we would sit at my little table out front and I would help them draw whatever their little project was. So
Do you
I
think?
think I met the children first
Yeah.
before I met the parents. They recognized
So,
me.
in a sense, running that gallery and having a little shop helped you get more in touch with the real people or the real locals?
Definitely, because there was no art gallery on Caye Caulker. I realized if I wanted to expand my business in San Pedro, I would have to be in direct competition with the very generous, kind woman that had sponsored me and assisted me and given me advice on how to live in Belize, Lindsay Haxton from Belizean Arts. And I just thought, no, I don't want to do that. If I'm going to expand my business, I'm not going to directly compete with her. We need to work together. So that's another reason why I moved to Caye Caulker.
You mentioned the council meetings. These are meetings that take place for the
Yes,
community for Caye Caulker
yes,
every month or
yes.
something?
They're not so often, every couple
Okay.
months, especially
Okay.
if there's a burning issue.
And it's open to everybody.
Yes, and if you're
Okay.
new, you better just sit there with your mouth shut. Ain't nobody wants Janie come lately giving her stupid opinion.
When you moved, there were not that many foreigners, right? Not many,
Right.
as many Americans as there are now or over the years.
Probably, I'm going to say foreigners, there might have been 30 to 50. And then, of course, there were more coming down as snowbirds in the winter, the OGs.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Were you
know,
ever tempted to live anywhere else in Belize
Well, I
area?
did. In 2004, I bought a house in Mahogany Heights, which is now a defunct government DFC sponsored housing project where the government and the DFC developed this property and sold homes without actually owning the title to the property. And they misrepresented themselves in doing that. That was under the Musa administration. When the Barrow administration came along, they recognized the swindle that had gone on. Their reaction to it was to terminate the private security that we had in that little enclave of Belizeans. I think I was the only foreigner living there. And with that, the empty houses got moved into by basically homeless people from Belize
Oh,
City.
wow.
So I got
Wow.
broken into several times, once in the middle of the night while I was in the house.
What happened to that property? You got rid of it,
Well,
or?
I ended up giving it away. I had it and I was afraid. And my neighbors said, please, please, please don't abandon your property. Please, we'll find someone who needs a home, who's working, that has children to take it over. And that's what they did. And I met with them. They were tour guides. They and their 4 little children moved in and took it over. And I just
That's
had to
Belize
miss my
City, right? Just for people who
They were
aren't
in Belize
familiar.
City and they moved out we were at mile 31 on the Western Highway.
Why
Yeah.
did you even
Well,
decide to go there?
because it was very affordable. I wanted a different experience. I wanted to get off the island, and my daughter Jessica had moved down with my granddaughter Halima, and Jessica was managing the store. I'd moved into a bigger space, and so I wanted to just be able to produce more and get a little break. When you first enter an island like Caye Caulker, you just feel energized because the energy just goes around and around and around. But, after you're there a while, that energy wears you down. So I'm one of those people that I have to isolate myself to be creative.
Sure, same.
My neighborhood's a little bit noisy, but it's roosters and children riding bicycles and kids playing with sticks and coconuts, and the occasional golf cart or golf cart dump truck will drive down my street, you know.
My favorite posts you used to have up of like, hey, remember, this and this so and so's business,
Yep.
and just gives so much
Those
context to the
photos.
island. How many of those businesses would you say are still around today?
Not a lot. Not a lot for various reasons.
Hmm.
the owners, they became elderly and maybe their children didn't want to take over their business, or the oppressive tax system this government has now has really, really affected small businesses.
What's
Really affected
oppressive about it?
the tax structure. We're taxed on our gross income rather than profit and loss. So you could actually be losing and still owe
Wow.
tax. Even your
Yeah.
like business tax is 1.75%. You could have lost money and still owe that 1.75%. GST is for some and not for all. I know the government is trying to get everybody registered and re-registered for GST, but it's a lot.
Mm.
12.5% is a lot. And a lot of times to make a sale, we would end up having to eat that GST ourselves. And that's our little teeny profit margin. I'm seeing small businesses dropping left and right. And
Wow.
I get it.
When did that become effective?
After COVID, with the new administration being reelected, and believe me, we were ready for a change. And I'm not saying everything that the PUP, party that's in power now, I'm not saying everything that they've done is wrong. They've done a lot of really good things. But Caye Caulker and tourism was still really suffering after COVID, and they came in and just really cracked the whip on everybody.
Rather
It
than
didn't.
boost with incentives.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, they've come in with an NIH program, which is National Health Insurance, which that
Hmm.
has to be paid for with somebody's money. But what we see on Caye Caulker is that the millions and millions and millions of dollars that is paid in taxes through GST and tourism tax and business tax, only a very, very small portion is returned to our village council to do projects with.
That's been the case forever, for as long as I remember, no? The
Yeah,
focus is always on San Pedro and not so much
right,
on Caye Caulker, even though Caye Caulker has
right.
grown into a full
Yes.
tourism destination.
Yeah, we're the number two tourism destination for Belize.
Wow.
San Pedro being one, Caye Caulker being number two, and then
Right.
yet we get skipped over in their marketing brochures. They talk about San Pedro and Placencia.
You ran the cafe for how many years?
Almost 24 years I had an art gallery, and then the
Yeah.
cafe I started in maybe 20 years ago, just doing like
Yeah.
bagels and coffees and stuff like that and cookies, and then I expanded the menu.
So what did that whole experience of running the cafe teach you that you perhaps wouldn't have learned as just a resident?
You have to be patient. You really have to be patient. Patient with your suppliers. Follow up so important. Gentle follow up is so important. I mean, just getting food to this island is a huge thing. I would try to not show my irritation when tourists would ask for, do you have cream or half and half? And I would think, no, look around. Look
You're on
around
an
at where
island.
you're at. You're lucky you're getting coffee with real milk. I would say, oh, sorry, just have it.
It's a reality that if you live in Belize now, probably have to deal with them on a regular
Yeah.
basis, unless you were living somewhere far south or something.
Yeah, and I'm constantly amazed at how kind and delicately the tourists are handled here
Oh,
by the tour guides, how kind and gentle the local people are that are not hustler time.
absolutely.
Being present in your business, because I don't care how honest people are. If you're not there, you're going to have things that go missing because they're going to figure you're not going to notice or you don't need it. So you have to be a constant presence and be an unexpected presence. I'm not here right now, but I might show up in 5 minutes. I went to a camera system so I could see and hear what was going on at the cafe when I wasn't there, because I had changed from like a little home-based business to where I had built across the street from the police station and the basketball court. And I also came to the conclusion that the farther away you can get from the police station, the calmer things will be. And then I also found that I had better success with hiring people that had come to Caye Caulker from little villages on the mainland, because they had grown up with village life and not in the party life.
You've seen a lot of foreigners come and go, I'm sure. A lot of
Yeah.
Americans come and go, arrive thinking it's their paradise, but then realize they can't stick it out. Who tends to do well long term? And what is your thoughts on those who leave? Why do you think they left, really?
So you have people that don't come in here with enough money, and then people who come here with too much money. And those are the people that leave. The people that come with just enough money and enough money to get themselves established, to get their residency set up, which could take up to 3 years, or they come down with an idea and they go ahead and get a work permit and register their business. And maybe they're renting, but they're renting an efficiency apartment in a local house. And if you come down here and you've had a hard time, you've got a substance abuse problem in the US, it's going to be majorly overblown here. So I found I really needed to get to work myself because I found that even though I thought I was retired, I can't be idle. It's
Yeah.
the devil's workshop.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, I really felt compelled to start a business and not just be painting full time at home. Now I'm 65 now and I'm content to stay home in my little cocoon in my local neighborhood
Yeah.
where my neighbors watch out for me and we
Yeah.
communicate with each other. We
Yeah.
are our own neighborhood watch. So
I love it.
people that come down and they don't understand the culture, they have money to waste. They end up wasting it. They think they can come down here and trust the first people that they meet. They don't realize that they're hustlers and thieves.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, I had to make it work because I had sold my house and I had sold my accounts for my business. I felt like it would have been really, really difficult for me to go back and reestablish myself. And I also didn't want to be a burden to my children. I didn't want to go, Mommy's a big loser, and now I have to live in this. Okay. So, like, there were times where I was a little bit broke. And then I just had to just really focus on continuing to do the work, continuing to push out the vision. And it would start to come back.
A lot of places around the world, there's this anti-foreigner sentiment that's growing. Do you feel that's happening in parts of Belize?
I do. I do feel like it is. If you come here and you want to change your life, don't think you're going to change Belize because Belize is Belize. I came here for Belize to change me, not for me to change Belize. And also, I was really lucky. I had a family that kind of adopted me. I would have regular dinners with them. And,
Yeah.
their little girl who was 3 when I met her, she's 28 now. So you can't come here thinking you're going to change anything. You've got to be ready to be patient and you've got to be ready to be a part of the community and contribute. You have to contribute. So, like, over the past couple years, there's been a real need for fundraising for medical need. And I've taken that on. I've been really shocked at how successful it's been. Since 2022, I've raised on my own over $150,000 for Caye Caulker
Wow.
families for medical needs, mostly children. I've helped them to navigate the visa system for getting medical visas to go to the US for treatment, which is really tricky. I'm a warden for the US Embassy, but I'm in American Citizen Services now. I'm not on the visa side. So all I can do is just tell them what I know they're looking for and what to expect.
You're volunteering, right?
I am. If you're a U.S. citizen, I'm the fastest way for you to get a hold of your embassy because you
Why
can
did you
come and
choose
knock
to
on my
take that
door.
on?
Because we needed one. O.J. Holden had lived in Belize for like 30 years. He was the
Hmm.
U.S. Embassy representative and he had a stroke and he died. And so we were reliant on the 2 wardens in San Pedro anytime anything catastrophic happened here to a U.S. citizen. And I was recommended. So they contacted me and then I went through a background check that I didn't know was happening at the time until I was actually at an embassy party and I remembered, didn't I breakfast?
That's funny.
Yes. Oh, you've got the little thing in your ear. Okay. My first case 2 weeks after doing the training
Yeah.
was a night snorkel drowning. A 60-year-old American woman had a heart attack and drowned. I assisted the family through the whole
Oh my
process of
goodness.
the paperwork, the
Wow.
autopsy, the funeral home, the cremation, repatriating cremains, getting the embassy
Yeah.
death certificate.
Wow.
Then they notify Social Security, all of that.
How often does that happen that you have to go through something like that?
Well, it happened 5 times this year.
Wow. For
Yes.
different reasons,
For
obviously.
different reasons, yes. Yep.
Gosh,
And it's just reassuring to talk to somebody with a Midwest
absolutely.
accent. People come knocking on my door up to 10 o'clock at night.
Oh my God. I think that people need to realize, stuff happens, and
Yeah.
knowing who the point person is also
Yes.
a very helpful. I think
And
that,
if there's one takeaway I can give you for American citizens or any citizen visiting Belize, please fill out your emergency contact information in your passport. Do it in pencil in case it changes. Please, please, please do that. Because if you don't, I'm the one searching your Facebook profile for friends and family. I'm the one,
yeah,
I'm the point person on that, when it's being
yeah,
reported to try to give the embassy as
sure,
much information. I don't necessarily contact them.
yeah.
I'm the person, and I'm also the person that goes in with the police when you've died at home and you're a U.S. citizen. I'm the one that goes in with the mask and the double masks, sometimes in gloves.
Oh my gosh.
With the police, and I search her apartment. We're looking for
Wow.
an
Oh
important
my
paper.
goodness. I'm glad you said that because I don't. Do they still have that page in the passport? I don't remember the
They
last time I
do.
looked at that.
They do. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I'll be doing that. Okay.
Yeah. And it's also amazing how much your neighbors know about you that you don't think they know.
I was gonna ask you about that, like the life on a. I mean, I would say, okay, you're on an island, sure, but I think anywhere in Belize is a small
Yeah.
place.
Just ask my neighbors.
They know who comes
Yeah.
in, who comes
Yeah.
out, what you
Yeah.
do.
She never leaves her house until after
There's
12.
there's always somebody at the window watching.
Her pink yoga pants are still hanging up to dry 4 days
Yeah.
later.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. There are good things and bad things about that. On this channel, people who are interested in moving abroad want to know, especially women in their 50s, 60s, am I going to be lonely? Am I going to be isolated? Or am I going to be safe? And what's the dating life like? And I really never know how to answer those questions. So I'm passing it on to you.
You know my answer.
Yeah,
Listen,
my answer is run.
I know, right?
But it is difficult. I think it's difficult to find quality people in a tourist environment. That's always what my answer is.
You you can get a lot of attention here. If I wanted to date, which I don't, all I would have to do is go leave my house and walk in the street and smile. And that's all it takes. What I'm seeing with the female expat community, that they come down here on their own and they're looking to retire, most of them are not necessarily estranged from their families. And so they've got strong family ties back in the US, and they join a community of likewise women. There's groups of women on
Okay.
Tuesdays. They go to Island Magic Grill and they play board games together. There's groups of women, they'll meet at the Creole Gal Bar on Sunday afternoons and just sit around and, chat with each other. What I do see, especially this year, dealing with 4 out of the 5 cases of U.S. people that have passed on Caye Caulker, is that they're older men that have come down here. 3 of the 4 that I'm going to talk about came down here in recent years to drink themselves to death. And in talking with other wardens, that seems to be a trend right now. Because people will, if you want to be left alone here, you'll be left alone. If you don't want to interact with your community and just, sit on a bar stool and maybe chat with the waitress or whatever, people are not going to interfere with you here. They're going
No.
to let you do that. The
Wow.
women, I mean, yes, you do see people that regularly go to the sports bar or Salties or the Parrot Head Bar or the Split,
Interesting.
but there seems to be more of a like-minded expat community amongst the women on Caye Caulker, the older
Interesting.
women. Yes.
So
The
the
men,
men, so it's loneliness that drives them to
a
drink.
lot of them are estranged from their family because
Oh,
I'm the one looking for their,
yeah, yeah.
family,
Wow.
kids
Interesting.
and things like that. And I totally understand
Sure.
the family's point of view.
Sure.
Totally. I'm not here to judge. I'm just here to
Those are
listen.
very tough situations.
So the women seem to be able to build their own community, the men not so much on their own. Now,
On their own.
yes, if they're with a partner, that's different, But I don't really go out much. I'll meet, lady friends for dinner at
Yeah,
Hibiscus. That's my
sure.
favorite go-to place.
Yeah, I love hibiscus.
Yes, or Lotus at Blue Zen. If I want an
Yeah,
adventure, I'll get on their ferry and go up to North Island to Lotus.
yeah.
I also like Island Magic Grill. That's another
Uh-huh.
go-to place. Sit in the swings and watch the sea. A lot of the little video clips that I post are from just sitting there chilling, listening to the breeze.
Yeah.
Dating, you know,
No, good luck with that.
good luck.
You've had your own really big health scares, and
Yes,
so glad you're okay. But
thank
what can you
you.
share about that whole experience that you've learned being able to have healthcare, afford healthcare, and being prepared for a health emergency?
My first big health scare happened in 2018, and I did have insurance, but I had to pay out of pocket to and then I had to get reimbursed for it. So within a matter of hours, I had to come up with 18,000 US to get this emergency surgery that I needed. I fell off my bicycle and I bruised my pelvis, and I didn't know at the time that I was diabetic, and the
Oh,
bruise didn't heal. So what ended up happening is it got an infection, and that was at a time in Belize when there was a shortage of the very strong antibiotics. I needed vancomycin, which was not available in Belize. They had to send a courier to Mexico and bring it in. So after the surgery and in recovering a little bit from that, to the tune, it was about 25,000 US. And then I was able to go to the US, get on a plane, and my daughter picked me up from the airport and took me right to, she had already decided what emergency room I would go to. I needed to go to a level 1 trauma center, and they put me immediately into a non-contact infectious diseases room because I'd picked up a
wow.
infection that was
Oh, yeah.
like, that
Yeah.
had 30% mortality rates.
Oh, wow.
I was in the hospital in the
For how
US
long?
for another 3 weeks, which is a long time.
My gosh, that's expensive too,
Yes.
right?
And but the thing about the US is that they cannot deny you treatment.
Yeah.
Even if I didn't have insurance, I could have gotten myself on a plane and even just get to Miami.
Mm.
You can still walk up those stairs, even if they have to wheel you out. If you don't have insurance, do not inflict this on yourself. Because even though I went to the private hospital and I have no complaints about the surgery, my surgeon was excellent. My doctor of internal medicine was excellent. The doctor in the US said it was textbook perfect surgery for what I went through. The lack of what Belize was going through at the time in 2018, with them not having the antibiotics necessary. It was about 6 weeks later of me just laying in bed at my mom's house before I could even sit up for a significant amount of time.
The insurance that you had, it's US health insurance, right?
Yes, it was Blue Care Network, and it had
Okay.
international coverage, but I had to pay out of pocket and then submit a
Right.
claim. Once I got to the US and I got through the whole hospital ordeal and was back at my mom's, it
But
took less than a month to get reimbursed, but that's a lot of money to have to come up with out of pocket.
yeah, that's a definite difference. And but these you have to pay up front, right?
Yes, you pay up
Um,
front. If you go to the public hospital, a lot of people have great success with the public hospital. You might even have the same surgeon you would have at the private hospital, but they don't have the same resources that they have at the private hospital. Like at Belize Specialty Hospital, they will actually fly in a Mexican surgeon if you need it. It's going to cost you, but they can do it. They have those contacts. So if you have serious health issues, you really can't live in Belize. You really
mm,
can't get the health care. I was really lucky. I was still young enough to recover from this. I'm not sure, here we are, what, almost 8 years later. I'm not sure if I went through that I would recover that now, but I know the signs and symptoms now. I'd never
okay.
been sick like that before.
Yeah.
And then I went through something this year in May.
Right.
I had medical coverage, but I chose to go to Merida, Mexico for a mystery stomach problem
Huh.
where I was having
Yeah.
these weird stomach pains, and I had contacted a gastro specialist in Merida, and they said, well, come up and let's do an upper GI and see what's going on. And I had the upper GI on a Saturday. And when I woke up, they were like this,
Oh,
like
really?
girl, we need to talk about what's going on in your stomach. I had a very quick surgery on that Monday. I opted to just pay out of pocket for it. I was there and the surgery went fine, but the complication after it was I crashed a couple days later. I went to like a hypoglycemia
Oh
shock.
my.
And yeah, I felt myself slipping away.
So
But I
what
couldn't.
happened? I mean, was it the surgery
So
gone wrong or?
the surgery was fine. Everything was fine. It was a medication thing. And I had pneumonia.
On top of it?
Pneumonia.
Jesus.
Probably the pneumonia tipped me
Yeah.
over.
I think a lot of Belizeans go to Merida too. I mean, I guess the healthcare is
They
pretty good in
do.
Mexico.
They
Yeah.
do.
So do you recommend that people have their US health care insurance, which is now kind of super expensive? Like, what's the solution? I don't know. I really don't know. Have
You're
sufficient funds for
right. Have
emergencies.
sufficient funds, have credit cards available. I paid out of pocket for the surgery. And then when I crashed, I had Zelled the surgeon money for my surgery, but I was at my Zell limit. I couldn't
Wow.
access any money out of my account. And so my daughter, Jessica, got on Facebook and said, "Hey, my mom has helped you all. She needs help."
Mm.
And people just started pouring funds. Another 4 days in the hospital. And then I had to have nursing care for the next month that I was in
Hmm.
Merida.
Is that
I had a
pricey?
nurse come in. No, actually, it was like $40 a day for her to come in. She would spend about an hour with me. She would take my blood pressure, check my lungs, check my
It's
heart,
amazing.
my blood sugar, and talk to me to make sure
Wow.
I wasn't loopity loo. Part of becoming a resident of Mexico is that you can tap into their NIH service. So,
Oh,
but the thing is that if you qualify for Medicare Part A and B, just get an add-on. Just find out your local hospital here, what insurance they accept, and then get an add-on policy, is what I would
in the
say.
US. Okay.
Yeah, that'll cover you for international travel and
Okay.
for emergency evacuation.
That's really not only gone through health scares, you've also gone through storms, right?
Yeah, a couple of them.
Hurricanes. Just a couple. Are they
Yeah.
becoming more frequent now in Belize,
Yes,
just
they
like in the
are.
rest of the world?
Yes,
Yeah.
they are. Because when Hurricane Keith rolled around in October of 2000, he's hadn't had a significant hurricane for like 30 years. Hurricane Hattie was the most significant hurricane. So that was a huge surprise. And that was before everybody had internet and the Weather Channel and everything. Now they can predict it days out. We can see the track. So tracking has been really important as a big help. And then, like, I live in a typical clapboard
Yeah, I was gonna say.
house. Newer construction. My cafe was typical Belizean construction with roof straps are important.
Mm.
And then just, up to a category 2, I would stay. But the problem
Wow.
with living on the Caye, we don't have homes in the mainland. If we leave Caye Caulker, where are we supposed to go? Are we going to
Wow.
get a bus with a million other people and try to get out of the city?
Yeah.
So it's a quandary. I just try to find friends with strong cement homes
Right.
who would like a little bit of company or a
Right.
hotel.
Yeah, sure. What do you think most newcomers fundamentally misunderstand about Belize, other than, they need to integrate? But what do you think is the one thing they just completely misunderstand?
Hmm, that's a tough question. I think they trust too easily because people are super, super friendly. And I think that people coming here see that friendliness and stuff and kindness initially as being able to trust people. Trust but verifies. I don't know who
Hmm.
said that, Ronald Reagan or something. Yeah, that you just have to take it slow. And it's important that you not come here when it's dry season. You need to stay here through rainy season and see if you want to deal with that.
Yeah. Do they still have those occasional flooded streets? I used
Yes,
to I used to
I
schlep
post
through in my
them.
flip-flops.
Yes. My daughter sent me a pair of pink boots
Uh-huh. Oh,
that
nice. Yeah.
I put on. Yeah,
Yeah, I
but
was
they're
like, why did I
ridiculous.
never pack those?
Yeah,
I feel like you need a pair of those anywhere you go these days
yeah,
as flooding's become
yeah.
so common.
And then just like rushing into stuff, not taking your time and figuring things out.
What questions should people ask themselves before moving to Belize?
It's beautiful, but it's not Shangri-La. It's not, there's a big reality with living here full time. If you're able to maintain your life partly in the US and partly here, I think that's the best of both worlds. Because if you're somebody that's here all the time and you never leave, you become one of those people.
Island fever or whatever they call it.
Yes. Yeah.
Knowing everything that you know today about, your life in Caye Caulker and Belize, would you still have made that choice to be on this small island in Belize?
I would. I would. I really would have. And I'm glad I was patient and I rode out some of the storms and the ups and downs. I really am glad that I did. I've had several little attempts at possibly reestablishing myself in the US again, but that would involve getting a real job.
Tell me about it. Yeah.
I'm a girl that's for the streets now. But if one of my kids decided to open a business, I would come back and be their best secretary ever.
Fill in the blanks.
Belize has taught me to be patient and to be gentle with people most of the time, unless you need to give the big smackdown. Sometimes you need to give the big smackdown. Try to deal with people gently.
What's the big smackdown?
Use your imagination. It involves men. No. No. But yeah, be patient with the pace of things.
Lee, thank you so much. This was so informative. I'm sure a lot of people benefit from this before moving to Belize.